Oh yeah, and Reggie Bush came back and really didn't do much of anything, and it's the inconsistency that we've grown to almost expect out of Reggie Bush. He'll make the big plays, he'll struggle some games. It's part of the Reggie Bush package. Okay, Colts Browns. I watched this game. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't fun. It was, kind of boring to watch. Just a really slow game. I didn't really like the Colts play calling. They were running it. They were doing too many things up the middle. Like they got to the goal line and called a quarterback sneak on 4th and inches. And normally I'm 100% for that. But you've got a rookie center, or the backup center who isn't very good, and you got Shawn Rogers playing nose tackle on the other side. So I don't think you can try and poke around in the middle too much. I think you gotta try and look elsewhere, go to the outside, or not try and run the ball so much, because Indianapolis was absolutely trying to jumpstart the running game here. They called a total of I think 30 running plays to 20 passing plays, something around there. And even though the Browns are pretty weak in the secondary, and if there's anything good about their defense, it's Shawn Rogers' ability to stuff the run, they continue to try and do that. And there wasn't too much success. Adai played all right. Rhodes played okay. Obviously the goal line stand at the end of the half by Cleveland was huge. And it was like the Colts didn't really care about all that too much. They never started just flinging it around. It was just very conservative, and they had faith that eventually something would work and they would win. And, again, it wasn't pretty. Manning threw 2 picks. Adai had a fumble. None of the receivers had a good game. Vinatieri got a kicked blocked. But ultimately, they are the Browns. Robert Mathis had a huge game. He had 2 sacks and the defensive touchdown that won the game. Freeney had 1 sack that forced the fumble that won the game. So, that's all they care about right now. All they care about is winning. It's that plain and simple. And, the Browns, they were able to move the ball okay. They were able to get it. The running attack was pretty efficient, but they could never break off those big plays that they needed to try and put the game away. They couldn't score much, obviously. They weren't able to capitalize on red zone opportunities. Yeah. Alright, Dolphins-Rams. Not a lot to say here. I did watch the very end of this. I saw Bulger throw that game-ending interception. Obviously, Dolphins stay in the playoff hunt. And could somebody please explain to me why everybody loves Ronnie Brown? Other than that game he had against the Patriots and kind of the game he had against the Chargers, he hasn't really done much this year. So I think we all need to cool off a little bit on him, because he had one really awesome game that made people love him, but other than that, there's really not much there. But Pennington continues to play brutally efficient. Ricky Williams had a pretty nice game. He's surprisingly enough contributing to what they do. The defense made huge plays. They picked off Bulger 3 times. It's just a brutally efficient team, and they're still alive in this thing. I think that the loss that they had to the Ravens earlier this year is going to kill them, but they're still in it. Rams, not a lot to say here, but Steven Jackson's back, and we'll see how he does as this season goes along. He had a pretty nice game, I suppose. Atlanta, San Diego, and San Diego, all season I've been convinced that San Diego was a talented, underachieving team. Now I'm thinking maybe they're just a bad team. They have awful coaching. They've had 2 safeties in the last 2 weeks. They had the safety against Pittsburgh and the safety against now Atlanta. And both of those safeties were stupid because the quarterback dropped right back. He had a 5-step drop right into the end zone. That's like asking, please sack me in the end zone. Please take your 2 points. There's no need to do stuff like that because they were not pinned up against the goal line. We know about Tomlinson's demise. Rivers is inconsistent and doesn't seem to come up with the big plays when the Chargers need them. he's really the penalties, just a real killer for this team right now. Defense, not forcing turnovers. They got a couple of they actually had a couple turnovers in this game that led to the only points that San Diego scored, but they're really not forcing much of anything. No quarterback pressure. Just, I think they've given up. I think they gave up a while ago, and maybe they're just a bad team. And Atlanta. Matt Ryan goes out to the West Coast, has a great game against San Diego, which can't say enough about that. Michael Turner, awesome game against his former team. Roddy White stepping up. The defense continues to be underrated. They get, pretty good pressure with Abraham. They get key stops when they need it. They had that huge sack right at the end of the game. Like, San Diego had the ball back. They needed to drive 80 yards for the touchdown. It was they were down by 6, and their drive went like this: sack, incompletion, punt, I think. So, big game for them. And you have to remember, Atlanta pretty much gave San Diego 2 touchdowns with their fumbles. One of them was a defensive touchdown. The other was set up by a defensive play. So, the game was handed to San Diego and they didn't take it. Chiefs Raiders. I really don't know what to say about a game like this. We saw more of the usual. Russell completed like 30% of his passes. McFadden is still not playing that well. Justin Fargas continues to outplay him, to my disappointment, because I want to see McFadden take the bulk of the carries, but that's not happening. Zach Miller was actually a backup tight end in one of my fantasy leagues. I'm 11-2 in both those leagues, by the way, and the playoffs start next week, so wish me luck there. I'll let you know how it goes. He's made some plays this year, definitely. And, my favorite, the only reason that I kind of follow the Chiefs this year is because of Tony Gonzalez, who's probably already the greatest tight end of all time. And he's been having a lot of great games this year. He's got chemistry with Tyler Thigpen, and the Chiefs seem to continue to use him a lot, even though they don't have a very good offense. They feature him, and I like that. They definitely featured him in this game. He had like 8 catches, 110 yards. So anyway, the Chiefs did win. It was revenge for earlier this season, I guess, 20-13. And, it wasn't that awful of a game. It was definitely a toilet bowl, but, we saw good things out of Larry Johnson, who averaged 4 yards a carry. I'd say they got their money's worth. What else? Got Pittsburgh and New England, and the Matt Castle ship just sunk. People were actually talking about maybe the Patriots should trade Brady and start Castle next year. And I kept waiting. When's he going to play a real defense? When are we going to see the real Matt Castle? Because, I don't know what Tom Brady would have done against that defense, but it would have been better than that. Ben Roethlisberger gave New England a touchdown. He, pretty much early in the game was doing everything he could to give New England that game. He had the interception. He wasn't completing passes, wasn't getting anything downfield. Obviously, the interception was just really bad. New England immediately scored. And after that, you get a whole lot of nothing. So, you got to remember that. I mean, New England's offense pretty much got completely pulverized in this game. Castle had multiple turnovers. I think he turned it over like 4 or 5 times. They were able to run the ball pretty well, but I think a lot of their runs were done out of the, fake shotgun draw formation and things like that when you're not expecting the runs. So, Randy Moss was in full-out choke mode. He dropped a lot of big passes. He had dropped like 2 touchdowns, which, obviously came back to bite them. If he catches those touchdowns, things are different. Gostkowski missed a gimme. Maybe these are the real Patriots because, all this season I haven't really known what to think of New England because they've shown a lot of different sides to them. And is this how they're going to play when they're going up against an elite team? I really didn't like what I saw out there. Just underwhelming as a whole. And on the other side, slow start for Pittsburgh. They kind of did not come out firing on all cylinders. There were a lot of flags in this game. but they got it done. Just an all-around solid performance. You know, James Harrison continues to have a great year, and all that. Moving on.